This is from Flying Carp. They're just saying that it doesn't have that wow factor that they wanted. So they wanted some advice on how to really push that wow. So let's do that grayscale check. Okay. I think this has potential. I think I can understand what they're saying about that wow factor. This is gorgeous. This is a very good drawing. If you're like struggling, there's nothing wrong with pushing it even more. A more insane angle. So right now she's looking at us pretty head on. Like I think we're supposed to be below her a little bit. This is something that's going to be hard for me to edit because perspective be like that. But what if we were looking even more up at her? That could even help a lot more. If we really push how much she is towering over us. But it's already got that like foreshortening. Like I'd love it if it like really pushed that. Crazy angles always make it look a little more cool. And then another thing is always pushing your darkers to be even darker. Right now there's nothing that's like super duper black. Like there's a dark gray, but like don't be afraid to go even darker. I don't know if there's like an overlay on top of this, but I love overlays. They kind of really help. Like, I'm gonna add a subtle overlay gradient on top of it. Whoa, look at that. Hey, that's sick. I love overlays. Like, look how cool that lighting looks when you add this like giant glow. That's wild. I mean, usually I go to 50% with my overlays, just so it's a little subtler, but for something like this, like, go 100% opacity, baby. Just, like, knock it out of the park. It's gonna look sick. That's, if you want that wow factor, make it glow, baby. The design is the same because it's fan art, but anatomy and the other stuff and the poses. I can already see some things. It's really hard to tell what is the front and the back, I think because of how you've colored the foreground. This wall here is, like, the same shade as this wall back here, so it kind of looks like the bathtub is floating in space. Bathtubs are very deep, right? Because you got to fit a person in there. So some of the volume looks like it's lost. Yeah, I would suggest just making this the tub. Angle is also a bit funky, so let's see if we can fix it. As well as just the way everything, like, it's very softly shaded. Because of that, you can't really tell that things are in a plane. So, like, I'm specifically really talking about the stuff that's on the wall, like all those stickers. They don't feel like they're on the wall. They just look like objects that are floating. The lines on the wall are a little off too. I don't know if you do this, but definitely draw yourself a perspective grid. Just having a vanishing point in general will really help you with a background. Okay, so here's a tip. Even if you're gonna cut a body part off by something blocking it in this scene, you should still draw the things you cannot see, especially in your sketch. There is a lot of problem with the anatomy because you're not gonna get the anatomy right if you don't draw all the stuff that is being blocked. All right, that's my guide. Time to move things. What is he supposed to be doing with his hand? Because I thought maybe he'd be holding his hat. The angle of the brim is a little off too. And then I think his head should be down here. This is a hard one to edit. His shoe would be here. So his jacket on top of it is gonna like fall back more. So a biggest issue I noticed from the start is there's very little contrast between the different elements. So it's hard to tell where one object ends and one begins because they're all relatively the same color. So especially without having line art, if you're going to be painting like this, go darker in your shadows. I think that's good enough. The reveal is always fun. The Art University of YouTube. I'm so sorry. I can tell you now, I bet you that has failed you. There's a lot of misinformation on YouTube about art. So, unsure who you've been watching. It's a sad truth. Also, like, the art community on YouTube, like, they barely even talk about art. They're all just drama channels. Like, what the heck? Come on. Stop talking about tea and tell me about art. You raw dog everything until you're good at it? Oh, God. Don't worry. I was the exact same when I first started drawing. But then when I actually, like, went into classes and, like, learned stuff, I was like, oh, my God. I've been doing every single thing I know wrong this entire time because I had nobody to tell me what was right or wrong, so I was just guessing, and everything I did was completely wrong. I think that self-taught can work. You know, everyone's different. I'm not saying go to college. I personally, right now, I teach in an after-school program, so I get kids once a week, and we just do a little bit of art once a week. So it's just like a fun little once-a-week thing. And we even have adult classes where adults can come and learn. So it's not like you need college-level professors to tell you how to do art. I didn't even have that. I started learning when I went to like a summer camp for art when I was in high school. That was a moving point for me, having that where all I did all day was art for a whole summer. I think the difference is being open to do things that aren't your norm. So what a lot of people struggle with is going outside their comfort zone. And for most people on the internet, that's like anime. And the truth is that you need to learn those things because it's gonna make your cartoons better. Lighting, anatomy, perspective, those kinds of classes are so important because it's gonna make your personal work on like the style you wanna work on so much better because you're gonna have all of this like fundamentals in the background of your mind that you can then apply to all the fun stuff that you wanna do. This is cool. I like it. Cool scene. I think it could have more. And you know what it needs? It needs objects that are closer to us. I feel like we're really far away from this, and the size of this character isn't really reading to me because there's nothing like right in front of our face that tells us how big we are. I think the character should glow more. I think him being the brightest thing in the piece is gonna help a lot. All right, very rough. You know, we can still show the character. Look at that, because that way you can look at it and be like, yeah, that's a creature. Look at that beautiful beast. That lightning, let's make it pop, baby, and then everything else could be really dark and gross. Maybe suggest adding some more lightning in the foreground. Sure. I mean, again, mine's very rough. Give me a foreground. Okay, dope. Good job. A good tip for rain. Layer it. So have some rain that is huge and even different colors. Have it lighter in the front, and then maybe it gets darker and smaller as it goes away. That makes it feel like it has a little bit more perspective. That's just a little tip for rain. It should have as much depth as everything else does. Up next, we have Yeti, 443. They just think something is off, they can't figure out why it's off, and they want help. I'm really bad at animals, oh no! My kryptonite, animals. Yeah, okay, we got a lot of lighting issues. I think there's some anatomy things happening as well. Pony's very squished. I don't know how to explain that. So let's make him long, baby. There we go. That's already better. Honestly, I really don't have much to say. I can't critique the anatomy on this. I don't understand animals. At least cartoony animals specifically. Let's make the lighting happen. So I think the chest, right? This chest is the glowing part, right, guys? I might just lighten the whole character up a little bit first. I think it helped to lighten it and drag out the body a little. How to get better at digital art? You do it. Literally, the answer to your question is do it. There's no trick. The more you work at something, the better at it you get. We're all gonna be bad at something to begin with, but the more you use a tool, the better at it you get. That's like with anything. The more you paint, the better at paint you get, right? Don't let your dreams be dreams. Wait, Vesper, is this your first crit here? You've been here for so long, I don't know if we've talked about your art yet. Oh, it was over a year ago. Oh yeah, that's a long time ago. I wouldn't count that. Listen, your art's gonna change a lot in a year, ain't it? I will say I do like this color palette. It's really nice. Your line art is so graphic that I feel like the airbrush look in your shading doesn't really vibe with the line art. See how your lighting is like a solid line? You should definitely have some moments in your shadows that are like that. I mean, you have a very distinct palette. Neutrals are fine. I like neutrals. You have enough lights and darks and you've placed them in a nice way that it's working. I think you should be proud of this. Yeah, the hand is a little funky. I guess you're right. So you know what, Vesper? You don't even need me. You're noticing your own problems. What am I here for? I know, I get it. Be hard on yourself. I do too, but you're doing good. Keep using references. Well, you know what, Vesper? That means you've improved if I did a lot on your last one. Oh, Vesper, I remember that one. You've gotten good. What? Okay, this is an edit, so let's edit the edit. I mean, we're kind of in the Gotcha Life realm of things, so we can't, like, change it too much, right? It is still, like, a chibi art style, right? So I feel like we could maybe just proportion it a little better. This little one is supposed to be a child, so I wonder if the proportions are actually too big. I wish it wasn't an edit. I can't really talk about a lot of these changes because you're stuck on the Gotcha Life, and it's like, that's kind of what they were supposed to look like, and I personally kind of hate the Gotcha Life art style. I mean, like, it's cute, but it's so restrictive. I kind of just made sizing changes because, again, I'm restricted to what we're looking at with the Gotcha Life. Okay, we can start with some anatomy. Always a good place to start. Do you think that this is a wing coming off of the arm, or is it part of this cape? Because I think it's part of the cape. Oh, these are wings. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Thank you, whoever pointed that out. I forgot that they already have wings. This is not an easy pose. Props to them for trying. Sitting poses can be way harder than standing poses. Should they have a neck? I think it's okay. Some art styles don't need it. Actually, yeah, no, maybe it does need that. Okay, never mind. You could get away with it on a certain style of art, but at this angle, we might want it. Cape, have it spread out. Okay, I think this is good. That's it. Simple. Just very simple pushing of stuff. Oh no, is this a PNG? No, it's a JPEG! You could tell it was a JPEG because of all these little points. Look at that. Do you see this? So, hot tip for you guys. Do not export as JPEG. JPEGs compress your picture, and that compression will make things blurry. Instead, PNGs do not compress your picture. So when you zoom, you won't get all this weird fuzz stuff. You want your pictures to look as good as they did when you drew them on the program. You can even do a smaller PNG. They have different sizes. So if you are afraid it'll be too big, you can do a smaller PNG. JPEGs will kill your image quality. And not to mention that if you post it online, social media compresses your art even more. Like if you post on Instagram or Twitter. So if you've compressed it into a JPEG and then you post it online to get it compressed again, your picture's gonna look like poop. Your eyeball would not touch the edge of your head like that. The eye tangent unlocked a power within you. You know what's funny? That eye thing, do you want to know where I learned about the eye trick? It was in a how to draw manga book. So like I have a face and I want to draw my eyes at like this angle, right? They're kind of at an angle. Most people, they go like this and they make it directly touch, like the actual line art of the side of the head. Your eyes don't do that. Take a picture of yourself at an angle and you look at it, you'll notice because of the way perspective works, your eyes will actually pinch so that they do not actually end up touching the corner. So there will be a gap and then they will get smaller. And it's gonna make it look like the perspective is right because there should be this visual gap. Your eye does not touch the edge of your head at any point ever. You should always leave a little bit of space. Man, your anatomy on your face is gonna be like 5 bajillion times better with that one trick. I would like to thank the How to Draw Manga book for teaching me that. You listen, sometimes you learn things in the weirdest places, okay? It's a drawing of a has-been character as the Cheshire Cat. This is dope, okay? This is really well lit. Oh my god, look at that grayscale. Are you kidding me? Honestly, if anything, I would say maybe even just like push the shadows more. Probably darken the background a little bit more. Solid work. Head shape is really the big thing. I do like this painting style. I know they said that they're not like sure what they're doing with their painting yet. I enjoy this. It's pretty. I think his ears are on the wrong part of his head. Tignari's ears are up here, a little like that. Very simple. I made him smaller so we could fit the ear on the screen, but his size was fine. Yeah, there we go. The way they've drawn is very cute. Ease of drawing made my art better. When I stopped being so heavily detail-oriented, my god, did it make me like my art more. Yeah, that hand's a little strange. You're also adding a lot of folds where there's nothing folding. So don't add more folds than needed. It should keep going, right? It would follow this. Most staves have like a larger tip. Otherwise, it kind of looks like a walking stick, not so much a magical staff. Honestly, I can't tell if some of these are folds or like a pattern. I think it's because the line art is the same color as the folds. So I guess that's for the artist to decide, are these supposed to be folds or are these like a pattern on the clothing? I think it's just the whole head is a little slanted on one side. I think what could help is in the future, you just make all those scribbles the highlights. They are now the lightest point and they could be those little scribbles everywhere. I think it'll work. If you match what you did in the hair on the rest, then those patterns are gonna work. Like the color's the same as the line art, so it looks like it's a texture. So doing it that way would help a lot. There's a way to draw folds that I think they're going for, but they just missed the mark. Like say you have a skirt, right? And you want these like fun folds. The way you should go about it is you first draw the line. What you do then is you come over it and you draw views. I don't know exactly what you would call them. You add these shapes to the edge of the line, following the paths. And then you come back up and you add the folds. So you can add a lot of these or a little of these, and that's how you get your folds. Most important part is going back and adding the inside, because if you don't add the inside, it doesn't really have depth to it. Yeah, that's how I do it, and it's great, and I love drawing these folds. Yeah, I think those lines are like a style choice, but they are very confusing. It's the same thickness as the fold lines. It's the same width. It's like the same color. So it's not really working. If you're gonna do that, they should be adding to your piece, not distracting. If it distracts from the rest of your art, it's not working. But a lot of things you can do is just really differentiating those lines that you want to add from the rest of your piece. So it could be color choices. It could be thickness of your lines. Maybe you use a different brush so it has like a different texture to it. Maybe the marks always go in a specific place or a specific direction, so they're not just very random. Like, I know we don't like to say it, but there are bad style choices, and it's the truth of it. Not meaning it could never work, because depending on the context or what the rest of the piece looks like, it may work on one piece. but it's not going to work on everything, especially if you're not consistent with it and you haven't like refined the reasoning you're doing it. So it's always better to make sure that the fundamentals of the art is there first before you start going and like adding your fun little flares on things. Those little extra things that aren't part of the piece that are just like added for flair are not helping. You have a strong enough piece without it. Until you figure out like a way to integrate it properly, it's probably best to just not do it. Woo, we did it! Another successful stream. I went a little mad today, but that's okay. Thanks for coming. Bye.